Welcome to Tech Ascent, the podcast where we dive into the trends, strategies, and success stories that are reshaping the tech landscape as we know it today. I'm your host, Oliver Clingain. I'm also the founder of Ascension, the premier business development partner within tech. Today, we're joined by Joel Slatis, the founder and CEO of Timesheets. Joel, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much.
It's a pleasure to have you on. It's a pleasure to meet you. Would you mind telling the audience a little bit about yourself and what you do with Timesheets?
Sure. Okay, so my name is Joel Slatis. I'm the CEO of timesheets.com. This was a tech startup that I founded in 2004. And so we're in our 22nd year of business. We started it in April of 2004. So we've been doing it quite a long time. We're a SaaS company, so we provide businesses online to other organizations for B2B. And basically what we provide is time tracking. So that would be time tracking for hourly employee. It started as hourly employees. And then after, clocking in and out, it was basically, we needed it for ourselves. So we built it. We realized that, other people might need it too. So we started to sell it. And then we started to get requests from people for billable time tracking. In other words, a different type of time tracking. Effectively, there's hourly, clock in and clock out, and then there's billable, which is for, I work 3 hours on this customer and 2 hours on that customer. We also added expense tracking over the years and a scheduling component. So now we have and a small business HR component that we're not so proud of because it could use a little bit more development, to be honest, but still we do have that for small businesses. So time tracking for billing, time tracking for payroll, expense reporting, expense tracking, reimbursable expense tracking, I guess I should say, and scheduling, employee scheduling, or other kinds of scheduling, along with a little bit of HR. And that's what we do today.
Very cool. Very cool. And congratulations on your 22 years in business, just crossing that threshold.
I'm getting old.
No, awesome. And pulling it back, say 22 years, I guess, is Timesheets your first business? What was your working career like before this?
Oh yeah, fair question. Well, I went to Cal Poly, the real one, in San Luis Obispo. For those of you who went to Mona, don't hate me. Okay, you can hate me. I went to Cal Poly, graduated in '94 with a degree in engineering, and went to work for a semiconductor company in the Silicon Valley. So I was doing high tech, overseeing some high tech manufacturing for what they call physical vapor deposition, which is basically where you have a wafer, and which is what chips are made out of, and it uses a plasma to deposit thin layers of metal onto the top of the wafer, kind of like you'd make a pizza with, you put the cheese and the pepperoni. It's a good way to describe it. And so our system is one of the, or was the system that I worked on was one of the many processes that go into making a chip, a computer chip. So anyway, I spent about 4 years there, decided that a big corporation with lots of politics and just millions of people, well, I'm exaggerating there, of course, tens of thousands though, I think. It was just a little bit too much for me. It wasn't where I belonged. And I was meeting people who were sort of in the entrepreneurial realm. And decided to start building websites. I decided to go into business on my own, building websites. I found a business partner to finance me and help me get some customers initially. And even though I had never built a website before, I had a degree in engineering, I knew I could figure it out. And so I started building websites, learning on the job, if you will. I think I made $1,100 my first website, and I got to build 3 websites for the price of one, because this guy just wasn't happy with anything. And finally, I just picked up the computer and brought it to his office and said, "Fine, because he'd tell me what he wanted. I built it. He didn't like it." Anyway, so I was building websites for several years, and then I would start little businesses on the side. About every 6 months, I would try something new just to see what I could, what else I could be doing. So I had a game server business. I was shipping beta fish around the country. I was doing all kinds of little weird things. And in 2004, about 6 years after I started my web design company, I started Timesheets, which it was not called that at the time. And then as the Timesheets business grew and got bigger, the web design company got smaller, and we built a lot of websites. We probably built 200 websites. Built websites for NVIDIA, built websites for AMD, built websites for Whammo, built websites for all kinds of small companies you've never heard of. But as the website business wound down, I kind of wound it down intentionally because I was spending more and more and more time. And by 2012, there was just so much business in timesheets that we stopped taking website design clients altogether and moved all of our staff officially over to do the timesheets.com business. And we've been doing that ever since. So here we are, 22 years later. We're ancient on the internet. And we have a thriving business that's going today.
No, very cool. Very cool story. And when you stepped in away from your 9 to 5 into your first web design agency, what did that transition look like? Were you building out the agency while working? Did you kind of go at it? You took the leap of faith? What did that look like?
I took the leap of faith. I had found a business partner, a really nice guy, that we actually just met at a bar in Los Gatos, in California. This is like kind of a bedroom community of San Jose. And it was a popular establishment. We were just chatting, drinking and talking over a beer. And I said I was thinking about starting a business. And he was like, oh, maybe I'll finance that. It sounds interesting. And I wasn't asking for a lot. I think I agreed with him he was going to give me like $1,500 back in the day. This is in 1998. And he agreed to give me $1,500 a month to live on and help me find some customers because he knew a lot of people in the business community. And so he started bringing me customers, and I started building websites. And so yeah, it was a bit of a leap of faith, and to go off on your own and really, there's no safety net anymore. I had, with Applied, they're a big company. I had a 401k, I had health insurance, I had, all of the trappings of being an engineer in a large company. And then all of a sudden I was on my own schedule doing whatever I wanted. I was 28 years old, and somehow I managed to make that work. And I found new website customers for the next, I'm being, set over 10 or 12, almost 15 years before I finally shut it down. I was doing it for a really long time. So it worked, and I started hiring people, and it grew from there. But yeah, initially it was a little bit scary. I remember just wanting to have some semblance of normalcy, when I was starting off. And so I know this is going to sound really funny, but I decided every morning when I got up, I'm making the bed, which is something I didn't normally do, but I wanted there to be some order in my life, and that was the way I did it. As stupid as that sounds, but it sort of grounded me. And from there I would go to work, and back then I was young and I was single, and I would just work all night long. I would work until 7 o'clock in the morning, and I just worked really, really hard every single day. So that's how the web design company sort of took off.
Yeah, no, super interesting. And you kind of need that bit of a routine in there because, like you said, when you take that leap of faith out of the 9 to 5, you manage your own time, and that's got its pros and cons because you can either use it super resourcefully or you can kind of waste it away if you're not doing the right things.
I think for a lot of people, they don't have that. A lot of people don't have that same motivation. The real difference, in my opinion, and this is just my opinion, of course, but between the people who succeed on their own and the people who don't, it's really just the people who are, well, I don't want to say hard work is the way to succeed for sure, because there are plenty of people who will work really, really hard and don't succeed. But you can't do it. You can't be successful without that hard work. And so it's a necessary requirement. You cannot succeed without that, effectively that Herculean effort that it takes to really just dig in, do the hard job, work as hard as you can, get it done. And if it's not done right, or if somebody doesn't like it, you're going to start all over, and you're going to work just as hard the next day, right? And if you do that, you have a chance. And of the, tons of people that I've seen try to start stuff and fail, the common denominator for a lot of them is that they're not finishing anything. They're not finishing what they started. And finishing stuff, whether it's a small part of your project or a big part of your project, is critical to being successful. And if you can't bring yourself to get that done and really work get to really work hard, get that stuff done, you're just not going to be successful. So, who said it was 99% 1% inspiration and 99% perspiration, right? Was that an Einstein quote? I don't know, but that's the truth, right? You really just have to work hard, and if you do that, you're really increasing your odds of success.
Yeah, 100%. And kind of building off that quote is motivation comes and goes. You can wake up motivated some days, other days not so much, but it's kind of the discipline that comes into play it's actually going to make you execute on the ideas, the concepts that you want to see.
Yeah, I think I agree with that. Sometimes maybe you're not that motivated, but if you sit down and you just work. And the thing for me was I didn't have like standard hours that everybody else has. I wasn't working from 9 to 5. When everybody else was getting up and driving and sitting in traffic, I was sound asleep. I was in bed. I didn't wake up until usually, well, there in the early days, I didn't wake up until like 3 in the afternoon because I was staying up all night programming. So I didn't even go outside and get my first meal. And back in those days, I ate every meal out. I didn't cook. I didn't even leave the house to go get a meal until it was 4 o'clock, 4:30. In the afternoon. People are coming home from work, and I'm just like, beautiful day.
Yeah.
So, but I really enjoyed it, and it didn't matter to me that I didn't work normal hours. Sometimes I would take a nap at midnight. Whenever the people, going to sleep, they're tired. I was taking a 1-hour nap. I'd get up and work all night, and I did that for years and years, and built the business on it. Got a lot of stuff done, made a lot of customers happy.
Nice.
That was before timesheets.
Well, a lot of moonlight working.
Yeah. Well, I still do it today. Even today, I didn't go to sleep last night until probably 1:30. I was in front of the computer. Nobody bugs you at those hours. So there's just nothing to do but work. So you can watch a YouTube video nowadays, I guess. They didn't exist when I was on a modem when I started building websites. But yeah, if you're working late, honestly, to me, that's really the best time to work, and nobody else does it that I know of in my organization. That is, but when it's 10, 11, 12, 1, 2, the phone doesn't ring. There's no distractions. There's no emails coming in. There's nobody bugging me on Slack to get me, ask me a question or need my help or whatever it is, and I can just crank through and get so much stuff done. And then you go to bed, you sleep in a little bit. All my staff is working in the morning, and I'm still sleeping. But I recognize it's what's the word? Unorthodox. But it's always worked for me, and my staff is very capable these days. They don't need me, but they know how to get a hold of me if they need to.
And that's the best way to do it, especially that's the perks of starting your own business. Is you see all these things online nowadays about this is the perfect morning routine, this is the best way to get your day started, but ultimately you've got to do what's best for you. If waking up at 5 a.m., going to the gym, taking a cold shower isn't what's going to make you the most productive, then don't do it. Do what works for you and where you can.
I've always had weird schedules. I'll go out and exercise in the afternoon. I was kayaking at noon yesterday. Everybody else was working, but I didn't care. I'm going to work tonight. I'm going to get my exercise when it's nice and sunny, and I'm going to work when it's dark and everybody's quiet and everyone's gone and it's quiet, and I'm going to get more work done than most people.
Yeah. That's the way to do it. And
Joel, I remember one year. Sorry, go ahead.
Oh no, you go ahead.
I was just going to tell a funny story. There was one year around Christmas, and I'd go to my aunt and uncle's house in Reno, and I had to get a flight. And this is back in the early days when I was literally, working until 7 in the morning routinely. And the flight was at like 11 or something. And so I had to get up for an airplane ride. And it was December because it was the Christmas holiday. And I walked outside, and it was so bright outside because it was the middle of the day. And you're talking about somebody who didn't walk outside until, 4 or 4:30 in the afternoon on most days. And in December, it's already getting dark by then. So I hadn't really been outside in a bright day for like probably a couple months, because I stay up all night. So I walked out to get to the airport, and my eyeballs started to hurt because it was so bright out. So I always remember that. And so after that, I kind of adjusted my schedule, and now I was going to sleep instead of 7 in the morning. I kind of adjusted it, pulled it back to maybe 1 or 2, and I was waking up around 10. But that was the catalyst for change, was just how silly it was to walk outside and literally I felt pain in my eyes from the bright sun, and
Mm-hmm.
it was sort of eye opening, if there's a
Pun
double
intended.
entendre there. Yeah, it was kind of funny. So
No, that's good. That's good. And over the past 22 years with timesheets as an entrepreneur, what other kind of big mindset shifts have you had, perspective shifts have you had that have kind of either optimized your day to day or helped you optimize the business?
that's a tough one. In respect to what, help me out here. I want to make sure I understand your question.
Yeah, so when you kicked off the company day one, you mentioned you started making your bed every day, just as
Hmm.
something to make you get the day going, help you kind of stay organized, stay a little disciplined. Has there been any other, maybe in the later stages of the business, where it's like, okay, I need to start doing this so I can see results better over
Well,
here?
yeah, I mean, you're hiring more people as you get bigger, and there's so much more going on all the time, right? And there's certain things you have to do, that you didn't used to have to do when you were a small company. You have to get your guys into rooms for meetings to make sure that things are happening. You have to tighten up the ship, basically, after a while, because when you're a solo actor, or even just with a couple of engineers working for you and maybe your 2 or 3 man operation, you just don't have the same responsibilities that you do when you've got departments and you've got different functions within the organization, and thousands of clients. It's a different landscape. So the world changes underneath your feet as you're kind of growing, and it's up to you to sort of react to that and make that all work.
Hmm. Awesome, awesome. And Joel, moving forward with timesheets, what's kind of obviously we've talked about your entrepreneurial journey up to this point. Looking ahead a little bit, what's the goal with timesheets now? Do you see another 22 years into the future? How's
Yeah,
everything looking?
honestly, I started it, and that was just, I was 28. Well, I was 34 actually when I started timesheets. I was 28 when I started developing websites. So I've been online and entrepreneurial for the last 26 years, 27 years now. And the people that I worked with, some of the people that I worked with back in the early days even still work for me today. So not much has changed. Um, I'm about 10 years away now from retirement, and so it's a different picture. I didn't know in those early days what life was going to bring, or what kinds of big deals I might be working on, or whatever. But it just turns out that timesheets it's been a great project. It's been um, a constant source of change and growth throughout the entire time. Originally we went from our own bare metal servers, for instance, where we hosted our own stuff on our own in our own cabinets at a data center. Now we're on AWS, and in between we had gone through another phase with an IT company, kind of like yours, where we had big IT come in and buy these giant, $100,000 worth of Dell servers and other kinds of servers, and wire it all up professionally and stuff. And so we've been through, and that's just on with respect to hardware, right? We've been through many, many different changes. And even after 22 years, I still have a list, as long as your arm and my arm combined, of all the things we need to add to this project. So it's really been a career spanning endeavor, as small as it is. I mean, some people jump from job to job every 2 years and they're doing whatever. And I've just been running this company and rolling with the punches, and gaining a lot of experience. I could take my experience and probably do a lot of things at this point. 22 years being a CEO of a tech company. But yeah, it's just been a constant growth, in various areas, and in some areas the opposite of growth. Back in the early days, I was able to work on the website and do actual real work. And nowadays, if I actually attempted to do any work on timesheets.com, the engineers would probably revolt and kill me, and that would be the end. My wife would have to collect insurance. I'm not allowed to touch anything anymore. And you just get out of it because there's other things that draw your attention, and the further you get out of it, the less likely you are to go back in because you did that already. But it is a constant, a constantly changing environment. You're reacting to the industry, you're reacting to competition, you're reacting to the marketplace, and you're trying to keep all the balls in the air at the same time, so to speak. And so it's an interesting and fun experience. I wouldn't trade it. I've been very, very fortunate. But yeah, it's a constant growth situation. You're always growing, you're always changing, you're always learning new things, and the market is changing constantly as well.
Yeah, no, a lot to balance, a lot to stay on top of. And you mentioned there, 22 years as a tech company CEO it's no small feat. So
That's a long time.
congratulations
Yeah.
on the success you've driven so far.
Thanks.
And looking back on your career, if you could drop kind of one nugget of advice, all your experience in the tech space, especially being a CEO, if you could drop one little nugget of advice to any other entrepreneurs out there, what do you think that one nugget would be?
Well, like I said earlier, you got to finish what you started. I'll give the advice someone gave me. I know I'm some really sharp people. I've just been fortunate through the people I've met along the way, and there's very few that are really sort of at the top. Really, that you can, there's just not that many people who excel to that level or deserve to be at that level. And I know a couple of them. And one guy who was a very good friend of mine back in the day, he's gone now, moved to Austin, does his own thing, right? But we were good friends, hung out a lot. And he helped me really get started as an entrepreneur. And his advice was so simple but poignant. He said, whatever you do it fast. And as simple as that advice is, if you dig into it, it's really a deep piece of advice if you think about it, right? If you do something fast, first of all, that implies you're finishing it, not just finishing it, but finishing it quickly. The way I describe it to people now, and I give that same advice to people who ask me, if you're doing something quickly, you're going to, if you can do something in 4 days, it takes everybody else 5 days. If you extrapolate that out to a career, you're going to get several more years of practical work into your career that, somebody else doesn't get. For every 4 years I work, you've worked 5, right?
Mm-hmm.
If you can do something faster than somebody else, just by a day, right? And if you are working that hard constantly, if that's your thing, if you're just able to maintain that pace, which, again, if you're doing what you like and you're an entrepreneur, it shouldn't really be hard, right? You're just enjoying yourself as you're going along. And if you can maintain that, you're just going to get so much further because you've got more time to get further with, right? And you're also finishing things, which is also, it's the second piece of advice. Do it and do it quickly. If you start 50 things and they're all, 99% done, where you're calling them done, but they're not really done because you got this other thing to do and you got this other stuff. You're not really finishing anything, right? So you have to finish stuff and you have to finish it fast and move on to the next thing. And if you can do that, you're going to really excel. You've doubled your chances of being successful because you've got a task in front of you and it gets completed. Now you're on to the next thing, where somebody else is like, I still have a couple things to do. They're not dotting those I's and crossing those T's. But those I's and those T's are what make the real finished product. What make it able for you to move on and tackle the next big thing. So do it and do it fast. And that is as simple as that advice is. It is advice that I have lived by, and it is advice that has served me well, and I always remembered it.
No, I love it. That's the name of the game. Is the quote? I believe it's "Speed loves time," or "Speed loves time." No, money loves speed. Wealth loves time. So if you, especially if you're building a business, the faster you can act, the faster you can start generating revenue. You do it over a long enough period of time, you'll eventually build the foundation, build yourself a nice little wealthy business.
I'll have to remember that. That's interesting.
Yeah. Hopefully next time I say it, I'll be able to get it out right the first time. But it is what it is.
Practice makes perfect.
But no, Joel, it's been a fantastic conversation. I really appreciate you coming on, and I know the audience does as well. I'll be sure to tag everything of yours down in the description, but if you're here, do you want to shout it out? Where can the people find you?
Well, I'm on LinkedIn. You can look me up on LinkedIn if you have a need, or of course, I can be reached through timesheets.com. We're a small company. Yeah, even today, even with thousands of customers, we're still a small company. And so I'm not a hard person to find.
Very cool. Very cool. And like I said, for everybody listening, I'll have Joel's LinkedIn and website down in the description. You can go check him out. But Joel, once again, thank you for coming on. It's been a pleasure.
Cool, Oliver. Good pleasure. Thanks for having me.